everyone, this tiny little drone used to be an EMAX Nanohawk, but I decided to make some changes to mine. If you saw my review of the Nanohawk, then you saw me fly inside the house, and the performance was actually quite good. It handled those turns just fine, but I kept breaking props, which was super frustrating. The guards just weren't enough to protect the props, which made me ask the question, why even have those guards in the first place? I also flew it out here in my backyard, and I enjoyed that more, so I decided to take mine and optimize it for that kind of outdoor flying. As you can see, I got rid of the prop guards altogether. It's now more of a toothpick style drone, but I also reduced the weight and increased the prop size. These are now 40mm props, so that'll probably make a big difference. I even made some custom 3D printed bumpers to help improve durability and protect those props. So we'll see if it works. Today, we are going to put it to the test.
Hover looks good. Pretty good punch for a little thing. It's gonna be fun.
So today I'm going to rip this thing around as fast and as hard as I can, and I'm going to take some chances with it and find out what this thing can really do. I'm going to try power looping this deck, for example, see if it can do that. And there's also some giant Douglas firs behind my house. I'm going to try diving those and see if it can pull out. That'll really put this thing to the test. But before we fly, let me back up because I got some footage on the bench as I was doing the actual conversion and thinking about the different design choices. And I think that stuff is really interesting. To me, building and tinkering is just as big a part of the hobby as actually flying. And this conversion turned out to be pretty easy to do. There's no soldering involved or anything. It's kind of just a transfer onto the frame, but I did add a few additions of my own. So I want to show you that on the bench, and then we'll come out here and do the flight test.
First of all, here's what it used to look like. The Nanohawk has this molded canopy with prop guards, and underneath it's a carbon fiber frame. So the first task is going to be to take everything apart, and all you need for that is a Phillips screwdriver. And what you're left with is this. You got the canopy, you got the frame with the rubber bands to hold the battery. This is all of the electronics. You can just take it all off right there, and this is everything else. Let's check out the weight before we start building. The frame and rubber bands is 2.15 grams, canopy 2 grams, and motors and all of the electronics 13.9. These are the holes that hold the flight controller. Unfortunately, that is the standard size for a Whoop style flight controller, but these motors are definitely custom. They've only got 2 holes. The bottom of the motor looks like this. For whatever reason, EMAX likes to use proprietary parts on their builds, and these motors are no exception. I think it's cool that they only have 2 holes here, but it's just not standard. That's 6.5mm apart. I measured it, and if you stick it on the arm, you can see it goes on like this, and the bell actually sticks out a little bit past the arm. So I was kind of concerned about that. It means that an impact could hit the bell, and I don't think these bells are going to be super durable. They're designed to go inside of that Whoop style prop guard, and so they're kind of exposed here. Now, oftentimes frames will design a little bit bump out here so that the frame takes the hit, but I'm also a little bit concerned about the frame. It's kind of thin. These arms could break pretty easily. So I've already designed a solution for this. I've made a 3D printed part that looks like this. It kind of looks like little fox ears or something, and it's going to go on just like that. This is probably excessive. I could probably use less TPU, but the idea is a forward impact, side impact, anything in between is going to hit these flexible bumpers. They can bend up and down, and I'm hoping that'll absorb some of the impact. So when it hits, it'll kind of be springy, and hopefully that will deflect some of the power, protect the motors, and maybe even protect these arms. I don't know. We'll see if it works. I've decided to use these same rubber bands to hold the battery. They work pretty well, and I've decided to keep the battery the same way, mounted side to side. That way in a forward impact, it's less likely to slip out in that direction. But look at how the electronics mount on top of it. This is how it would be in the Nanohawk. This would be the forward direction, and the USB and VTX would be on the side. They do that so that you can access the USB through the side of the canopy, but I'm not crazy about it because it kind of makes this off-center. I mean, it's fine, it'll fly fine, but these motors are so tiny, I figure they can use all the help they can get balancing this out. It'd be nice if that was centered, and it'll be less in the way if we move it to the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell Betaflight that I rotated the board by 90 degrees. Then I'll just need a canopy that can mount to the front 3 posts, and I'll figure that out in just a minute. First, let me get these motors on here. Done with that, the motors are on there, and you can see what these guards look like when they're in position. They're going to kind of stick out in all directions. No matter how you hit, you're going to be hitting those guards first, unless you hit really from the top like that, in which case I don't know what to do about that, but we're looking good. All we need now is our canopy solution. And since we're going with 3 posts, I decided I'm going to use the B-Brain V2 canopy. I've used this before for toothpick type builds. There are ones that are very similar on Thingiverse that you can print, but it's really hard to beat the strength to weight ratio of this one. And so I'm using the stock B-Brain V2, but I did make some modifications. First of all, it used to have 3 fins sticking out around the lens to protect the lens. But this Runcam Nano 3 has a pretty short lens. I decided to take off the lower ones just to save some weight, and I shortened the top one. And then on the inside, it looks a little messy because I just clipped it away with clippers, but I basically removed the material right under here. This VTX is connected with header pins, so I would not want an impact on the camera to flex those pins and weaken them, but cutting out the inside of the canopy seems to give us just enough space. And then the interior of the canopy is 14 by 14, just like this camera, which is going to push right in like that. All right, here it is all put together, and isn't it cute? It fits right in the palm of my hand, and I think this is going to be a lot of fun to fly in the backyard. I mean, the Nanohawk was already fun to fly, but look what we've done. We've improved the airflow by getting rid of those ducts. We've reduced weight. We've gone up in prop size to 40 millimeter props. That's a 66% increase in disc area. And so those things are bound to make it fly better, give it more thrust and better efficiency. The only real question is going to be durability. The original Nanohawk had those guards and they provided a tiny bit of protection, but not in a fast crash. You were just going to break props. So are we going to break these props? Only time will tell, but I am hopeful. I think this might actually prove to be more durable than the original Nanohawk because we've got these bumpers which are stronger than the old guards, and I've gone with 2-blade props. These props, no matter how you hit, they can spin out of the way, unlike 3 or 4-blade props where you're always going to be hitting the actual prop. So I find that 2-blade props are just more durable and also more efficient. And so that is why I'm using these. Now these props are made by HQ and they were originally 4-blade props, but I literally just clipped off the extra 2 wings using some diagonal cutters. And that's the same thing that I did back when I made this build. I know a lot of you have seen this one already because I made a video about it. It was the lightest 75 millimeter whoop anywhere in the world at the time. And I used the same kind of props on here. Now, after I released the video about this, of course, Happy Model made the Emuflight 7. It's similar in a lot of respects. It's not quite as light as mine, but it's similar in a lot of respects. And HQ now makes 2-blade props just like this. So that's probably a better option instead of cutting them down. I just don't have enough of those props, so I keep cutting the ones that I already have. By the way, Happy Model did send me a Emuflight 7. I just haven't taken it out of the box yet. I've been too busy with other projects. But if you're interested in seeing that and getting my thoughts on that, then let me know down in the video description. Oh, I should mention that to get the canopy mounted on here, I used M2 screws, but the holes in the canopy are not big enough for M2 screws naturally, and so I did have to drill it out. I used a little hand drill like this. If you're going to do that, just be aware that carbon fiber dust is really bad for your lungs, so be sure to keep it wet anytime you're cutting or drilling carbon fiber. The material in the screws is a composite called PEEK. I don't really recommend PEEK because it's unreasonably expensive. I only have it because they sent me some samples. Normally I would use Rennie. It's also not very cheap, but if you buy enough of it and share it with your friends, it can be pretty reasonable. I've done that a lot, and then you can just clip them to whatever length. But of course you could use steel screws or titanium screws, whatever you can get, but M2 screws feed right into this canopy, and you don't even need a nut on top because they hold the canopy just fine. I do like the way these bumpers look with the little fox ears on here, but I did also design a version that has a single bump like this. This one is going to save about 1/3 of a gram total, and it's going to block a little bit less airflow. So let me just swap those on and see what it looks like. And here's what it looks like with those single spike bumpers. It's still going to hit the bumpers first, but there's not quite as much protection. And I don't know, these were kind of cute. I kind of like just the way that these look. So I'm torn between these two. I'll put the question to you. Which one would you fly? The one with 2 ears, 1 ear, or maybe you would fly without any guard at all. Here you can see the weight of those guards. These guards are about 1/3 of a gram lighter, and the total weight, like this, is 19.3 grams. That's about 1.5 grams lighter than the Nanohawk was originally. And with one of these batteries, we'll have a flying weight of about 28.2 grams. Not bad. All right, this drone is almost ready to rock. All I've got to do is make some changes in the firmware to adjust for the fact that I rotated this flight controller And I want to show you how to do that, but I'm going to stick it at the end of the video. So right now, let's go fly. All right, that flight was super fun, but it did end in a crash, as you saw, and it did break some props. You may have noticed I had mismatched color props in that flight, and that's because it's not the first time that I broke props, and it's not the last time either. They tend to snap off right here at the hub. But is it more durable or less durable than it used to be? And that's a little bit hard to tell. Every crash is different, but my gut feeling right now is that it's actually still more durable than it used to be. And the reason I say that is because I've also had a lot of hard crashes where it was totally fine. It depends on how it hits. If it hits with the bumpers, it seems to be fine. If it hits with the canopy, it seems to be fine. If it hits right on the prop, like I've got a lot of pitch and it hits like that, then the props are just going to break. I have flown it more since then, so let me show you some more crashes and you can judge the durability for yourself. Overall, I'm quite happy with how this project has turned out. It's tiny, it's cute, it's fast, it's fun. I am enjoying this much more than I enjoyed the original, and so this has been a pretty cool project. And so where do we go from here? First of all, you can see I put the double bumpers on. I'm going to give those a try. The biggest thing it needs is a new tune. I have not spent time on that yet. I might do that in the future, or if some of you build something like this and you find a tune that you like, please do share that down in the comment section below. And the other thing is props. I want to try some different props because these HQ props are designed to go inside a whoop guard. They're designed to be light. They're not designed to be durable. And they're certainly not durable for our case. So I might try cutting down some gym fan props to 2-blade. Or I've got these 55mm props. These are actually from a toy drone made by Hubsan. They're too big to fit on here, but I could cut these down. I've been looking for a good use for these. There's probably other props that I could try. Let me know if you have suggestions about that or anything else. If you have comments or questions, you can leave those down in the comment section below as well. I'm pretty good at responding to those comments, and I definitely enjoy hearing from you all. In fact, some of you helped motivate me to do this project in the first place. When I was doing the review of the Nanohawk, I mentioned that you could turn it into a toothpick style drone and put 40mm props on it. That was just an idea that I had, but several of you commented and said that that was something that you wanted to see, and that got me thinking about it some more, and the more I thought about it, the more I wanted to try it. So thank you for encouraging me to actually try it out. This has been a very fun project. Remember how this USB used to be on the side and I rotated 90 degrees? That does change the motor direction and the motor mapping and the board orientation. I said that I would go over the firmware settings to compensate for that, but this video is getting long enough, so I decided to split that out. I'll probably release that later as a separate video, so stay tuned for that. I got the EMAX Nanohawk originally from Banggood. They sent it to me for free for review, so I always tell you guys when companies send me free stuff, but they had no input on the review content. They had no input on this video. They don't know that I'm making this video, neither does EMAX. This is just something that I wanted to do just as a fun project, and if you want to follow along, I will put some links down in the video description for the parts that you need and these STL files and everything, so use those if you want to. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of this video. I do appreciate it. If you want to see more fun stuff, of course, you can like and subscribe. That is totally up to you. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.